Hello, my friends. This is Roxy, Firewife Lawyer Mom. Today is an awesome day. Why? Because we are going to organize our entire homeschool year in advance, soup to nuts. This is going to be awesome. Stay tuned.
Nothing good has ever come easy, and we've come too far to give up now. We've never been so close. Can't you see that when we let go, we'll be free?
Hey everybody, this is Roxy. I'm so happy that you have joined me today. We are going to be doing something amazing in the next few videos. I am going to be doing a series, which I am starting today, on how to organize your entire homeschool year in advance, all done, wrapped up in a bow, and ready to go. So I have a lot of amazing ideas for all of you. I am so excited to share with you how to organize your homeschool year in advance. This is all fresh to me because I was a very little while ago, I was sitting there deciding that I was going to homeschool and wondering, how am I going to put it all together and make it look like real homeschooling? What am I going to do? So I am going to organize everything for you guys. I'm going to be very practical in this video, show you step by step what the process is. I'm going to break it up into different videos, and it's going to really be awesome. And you guys are going to find it very, very helpful. I just can't wait. If you love these videos, definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and also hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when I post the next video in my series. Today we're going to be going through very, very practical way to organize and plan your entire homeschool year. Now, when I started as a homeschooler, after I made my decision, which was a monumental one, it was really hard for me to think about how I'm going to organize this immense decision that I made and turn it into a reality. And so I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I saw a lot of homeschool blogs. I read a lot of books and did a lot of things to figure out, what am I going to do? How do I organize this into an actual homeschool year? I have no teaching background. I am actually a lawyer by trade, and I don't know anything about teaching and planning and lessons and curriculum or anything like that. So I was completely lost. And although I found a lot of resources and a lot of help with how to plan my homeschool year, I felt that it wasn't very comprehensive. I felt like I kind of had to get bits and pieces from different places in order to bring something together in an organized way. I'm a very reasoned, organized person, and I need to have everything kind of lined up in order for my brain to understand it. And so I'm hoping that this series is going to help you guys plan your homeschool year soup to nuts. Now, if you are a seasoned homeschooler, will this video work for you? Will this even matter? Well, yes, it will. Because if you feel that planning your homeschool year is a little bit all over the place, if you feel like planning your homeschool year really doesn't have a rhyme or reason, you want to have more of a structured, kind of goal-oriented homeschool year, if that's something that you're looking for, or if you just kind of want to streamline it a little better, or you want to have something more work more efficiently in your homeschool, well, this may be the video for you. So whether you are brand new, like I decided today I'm going to homeschool my children, I signed all the forms, I pulled them out, and I'm ready to go. Whether you're at that stage or whether you are, 8 years in and you just kind of want a organized process, stay tuned to this video. It's going to be amazing. So let's begin. Like I said, I'm not going to go into in this video, why I wanted to homeschool, all of that fluffy stuff. I'm just going to stick to the practical because I feel like that's what we really need. We need a practical way to look at planning our homeschool year. And really, if you do it in this way, hopefully it will help you to be less stressed when the homeschool year comes along, when it starts for you. All right. Now, this is the way that I plan my homeschool year. Obviously, it really depends on your family and what your homeschool year looks like. So I just want to give that disclaimer that I think this is the best way for me and for my family. But of course, there's other ways to do it. And I am more of a classical kind of structured homeschool. in the sense that, I have goals, I want to meet those goals, and I do what I can to do that. Now, am I flexible? Absolutely. Do we have bad days when we're homeschooling? Absolutely. And is it a struggle sometimes to get things done? Do I sometimes throw in the towel? Absolutely. And we have all of us have those days. But I think this is going to be a great way for you to kind of just think about homeschooling in a more efficient manner. So let's begin. Now, this series is going to cover 4 different phases as to how I plan my homeschool year. The first phase is going to be brainstorming and goals. Brainstorming and goals. What is it that I want to teach? How do I want my homeschool to run? What do I want it to look like? What is it that I want to teach? Exactly what I want to teach, okay? So that's the first phase. The second phase, which is going to come in the next video, is going to be the course of study. How to create a course of study. How to get all of those brainstorming ideas, all of those goals, and actually put them down on paper. What does that look like? And we're going to also talk a little bit about budgeting as well, because we always need to have a homeschool budget, because believe me, the homeschool resources world is like being a kid in a candy store. It is crazy. And you can really, really go over budget if you don't have a plan in order to see what it is that you want to purchase and curriculum wise and all of those kinds of things. So the second thing is to plan a course of study. That's where we choose our curriculum. That's where we choose what subjects we want to teach. That's where we choose our budget. What is it that we're going to actually spend on this year of homeschooling? Now, I create a budget. I save money for the following homeschool year. So when I started homeschooling, I set aside money every single month for the following homeschool year. So it's not this big sticker shock when I have to order my curriculum, and I can order everything early so that I don't have to worry about shipping problems, and I can get everything done, but have it all within my budget and have the money set aside ahead of time. So I'm going to talk about that in my second video. In my third video, I'm going to talk about ordering curriculum. And in this part of the video, I'm going to talk a little bit about curriculum and if you could go overboard with it and what curriculum means and whether or not you have to be married to it, all those kinds of things that you see in other videos. I'm going to kind of summarize a lot of that and talk about just what the whole process of choosing which type of curriculum will work best for your child. All of those kinds of things we're going to cover in that third video. And then the fourth video is going to be, how do I take my curriculum and actually plan my year in advance? Now, why do I need to plan my year in advance? Because I am a working mom. I have a full-time attorney practice, and I am very, very busy. So I homeschool in the mornings and I do my law practice in the afternoons. So I really have a lot of balancing to do. And if I don't plan things in advance, it's very, very difficult for me to be able to homeschool and do all that I do. So planning in advance for me is really important. Now, this plan is just a plan. It's not the Bible. It's not if I miss one thing in the plan, then everything goes to, hell in a handbasket. No, it's not like that at all. But it is a plan. It is something that I have to follow. It's a rhythm that I create in advance so that I kind of know where to go. A little bit of, I would say, like a roadmap, okay? So we're going to talk about getting that roadmap to how we're going to get from beginning of the year to the end of the year and meet our goals in between. So that's what that roadmap is going to be. The final video in this series is going to be video number 5. Now, this video is going to be the prep phase. So I've got my curriculum all boxed up in the box. I bust it out. I take it out of the box. I take my course of study. I plan my homeschool year. I put everything, what I'm going to do every week, all of those things. Now, how do I organize it? How do I get it so that it's not like all over the place? And that's when I go through, how I organize the curriculum, how I organize my children's weekly folders, how I take all of those workbooks and I tear them all out. Oh yes, believe me, I do it. I rip all of those pages out because that takes up way too much space and I don't have a lot of it. And I file it all in a beautiful crate system that I have in a separate video, which I can link up here, that has, how I organize my curriculum. But I'm going to go more in depth with that because I had a lot of comments on those videos, people asking me to go further in depth with that. So I'm going to be doing that. Also going to be talking about school supplies. We're going to be talking about what kind of school supplies, because you should decide based on your curriculum, how many notebooks are you going to need? How many folders are you going to need? How many journals are you going to need? All of those kinds of things. you want to have that also mapped out. So when you go to the school supply store, wherever it may be, you're not just like buying all of this stuff, spending all of this money, and you really didn't even need all of that stuff. So I go through subject by subject and say, okay, well, this subject is going to require a notebook. This subject's just going to require a folder, or maybe it requires nothing, or maybe it's going to require, some headphones because she has to listen to an audio or something like that. So that's when we go through our school supply list. So that is planning my homeschool year in the 5 videos that I'm going to be presenting. So I hope that that's a little preview of what you're going to see. So let's get started with today's video, which is the first in our series, Brainstorming Goals and What Do You Want to Teach? So what I like to do when I'm going to plan my homeschool year, and again, I do this in phases. So I don't plan it all like in a month, okay? Because it's impossible. It takes a while to do all of this. But I like to spread it out over 4 months. So I start planning my homeschool year in April. That's exactly what I did last year. And I was ready to go by the end of June, early July. So I had all of July to rest, a little bit of August, and then we started. So if you follow this plan, you too could probably be able to do it as well. So in April, where we're still not done with our homeschool year from the year before, things are still fresh. What worked, what didn't work. I sit down and I kind of do just like a brain dump. And I go through each of my children. I go through each of the subjects and I kind of look through my course of study from the year before. And I say, all right, what worked? What didn't work? I kind of take some notes. I say to myself, this curriculum, she kind of got bored with, we had to leave it mid-year, or this curriculum was awesome and I definitely want to get the next series of it or the next grade level of it. So I kind of go through my curriculum and do a review of it. Say what worked, what didn't work, what do I want to use next year? Whatever it is that didn't work, I don't include it. But what did work, I do write down, okay? And the stuff that I ditched, I kind of leave a blank space and I say, okay, well, this is where I'm going to have to find something to supplement. So for example, if my math curriculum was a big dud and it didn't work, then I put on my list, I put math and I put an empty space. I don't put anything, I put a question mark, I need to find something else because this math didn't really work for me. So I kind of go through this little brainstorming brain dump thing, and I kind of evaluate the year per se. Okay, that's what I do. And then I say, okay, now I've evaluated the year. I kind of want to have an idea of what I want to do next year. So now let's talk about what they need to learn and what I want to teach. So I use 3 resources to help me decide what I want to teach and what subjects I'm going to cover. Okay, so I go through 3 books and I'm going to show you these books. I will link everything in the description box. Please do not worry. But I go through this book. This is called Home Learning Year by Year. And I love this book because it literally goes through each year of your child, each grade of your child. And it's very small, so I'm not going to show you all of it, but it's a beautiful book. I think they have it on Kindle along with the print version. I buy it on Amazon, and it is a wonderful book. It goes through how, to have a comprehensive curriculum. What is it that your child needs to learn by this grade? This is a great guide because it kind of gives me an idea okay, my child in 4th grade needs to master X amount of, multiplication facts, or she needs to master, division and division with remainders. It goes through exactly what your child should know per grade level. Now, this was so helpful for me when I was starting out because I'm not a teacher. I don't know what kids need to learn by what grade. I have no idea. So this was amazingly helpful for me to kind of get an idea okay, so what I do is I take this book, I go to the grade that my child is going into, and I make a little bullet point list, what they need to learn, okay? And so this is a wonderful, wonderful resource. The next thing I use, second book, is what your whatever grader needs to know. Now, this is a beautiful book. It is actually a read aloud format. You can actually read the book to your child. Because it has beautiful illustrations, but it goes through every subject. It's based on Common Core, which is kind of a standardized format, and it goes through all the different subjects that your child needs to know by that age. This is a wonderful guide. And again, guys, these are just guides. I don't read the entire book. I do not read the entire book. I just read the grade level that my children are entering into. So it takes me about a week or two to kind of go through these and just take my little notes that I need to take. So again, I have a blank notebook. I take these notes. The last resource that I use also is a well-trained mind. Now, I had the dust jacket, but I lost it. But this is The Well-Trained Mind by Susan Wise Baur. Is it backwards? Is it upside down? I don't know. But anyway, this is, for me, an amazing book because I am a I'm mostly classical education. I kind of dabble in Charlotte Mason and all the other kinds of things too. But I love her approach. I love her approach for science, for example, where you focus like on one area of science. But this book is also very good because it breaks it up into what they call the grammar stage. And then it goes into, when your child is in middle school and high school and all those kinds of things. And I really love it. And so I will go through just basically, I've read this book like 3 times, but I just kind of look through it, kind of, glance through it and see, if what it is in this book my kids have already learned and kind of check off boxes. So I use those 3 books just to kind of give me a structure. What do I want to teach? What do I want? Now, this is a disclaimer that I need to tell you guys now. It is impossible for you to teach your children everything in the world. It's impossible. I never learned everything in the world at school. You never learned everything in the world at school. None of us did. There will be gaps in education. And that is just the bottom line. Whether the kid goes to public school, private school, Yale, Harvard, I don't care where they go. It's impossible to learn everything you need to learn. But we do our best. As mothers, as fathers, we do our best, as grandparents, whoever we are, we do our best to teach our children as much as what they need to know. But at the end of the day, we kind of have a priority in our minds as to what we want our children to know. So for example, for me, teaching my children my faith is huge. The fact that they are learning to be good people and have good character, for me, that's a huge priority. If they, miss, I don't know, how to diagram a sentence, or if they miss, memorizing all of the 50 states and capitals, if they miss that, to me, it's not a big deal, because if they learn to be good human beings and are good people in their lives, that's more of a priority to me. So again, you read these books, but at the same time, you've got to decide, and this is part of the brainstorming, what it is that you prioritize in your children's education. What do you really want them to be proficient in? Another thing I prioritize very much is the core. I'm very big on my children knowing their reading, writing, and math well. I am very strict about that as far as making sure that I am hitting the standards that they need to hit for my state, and that I am making sure that their core subjects are on par with all the other kids in other schools. That to me is huge. It's a huge priority for me. Family subjects like science and history, do I feel that they need to know every single date and memorize every single president of the United States? It would be awesome, and I'm going to do my best, but it's not going to keep me up at night if I'm not doing it. So again, that's what you have to kind of decide. And this is what the best thing about homeschool is, that it's such a customizable thing that, we as parents, as the primary educators of our children, get to make these amazing and important decisions, because we love our child the most out of any teacher or anybody else, to be honest with you. So I go through the brainstorming phase. After I go through the brainstorming phase, then I start to come up with some goals. So I look at what I took notes on last year. I look at these books and I say, all right, let me make a list of the subjects I want to teach. And I want to make a list of some goals. Like, for example, last year, my daughter learned this past year, that's almost finished. My daughter learned pretty much all of the sight words, the pre-primer and the primer Dolce sight words. Great. So now I want to move on to teaching her how to master the silent E words. I want to teach her how to master the blends. I want to make sure that she is proficient at reading at, a certain threshold, a level. I want her to be at a certain level, reading these books, or certain things. So I kind of come up with some goals as to what I want them to know. Now, the next thing that I look at is my state's standards. This is really important because these books here can give you a lot of information, but your state may require that you learn a specific thing at a specific grade level. And it's really important that you read that. Now, Teachers Pay Teachers, which is one of my favorite resources, has teachers from each of the states, or most of the states, a lot of them, that actually type out the state standards in a really cool, easy way. Like, for example, in Teacher Pay Teachers for my state, I live in the state of Florida. There is a woman that went through all of the state standards for math, science, all that stuff, and she put it in this little Excel sheet. And I love it because it's broken down into all of the different categories, and it looks much easier to read than my state's website at the, whatever the education, superintendent writes or whatever. This is much easier. So I do print these out. You can buy them. They're very cheap. I think they're like a couple bucks. You could buy them on Teachers Pay Teachers, or even you can Google. There may be a teacher blog out there or something that has them. But I look through my state standards for each of my children's grade levels to kind of make sure that we are covering what we need to cover. Because, for example, I have a incoming fourth grader. In the state of Florida, in fourth grade, you're supposed to be teaching Florida history, Florida social studies. You're going to focus mainly on Florida's history, social studies, all those kinds of things. And so that means I'm going to have to not just teach regular social studies. I want to now teach her about Florida, which I think is really fun. I'm really excited to actually learn more about my state. But see, those are the kinds of things that you want to make sure you review your state standards, because there may be some kind of little things that you may need to add or that you may need to replace with what you're learning to teach in these books, okay? So I look at my state standards. That's super huge, super important. And so once I've done all of that, I make my list, okay? Now, I have a homeschool planning binder, which I did show. I think I'm going to link it up here in a video where I show you my organization for my homeschool videos. I'm sorry, for my homeschool curriculum. I showed you my homeschool, but I kind of go through that binder and it helps me to remember. So once I do that, then I go ahead and I develop my, what I'm going to be teaching. Now, before I do that though, I like to come up with a calendar, because how are you going to plan your homeschool year if you don't know how many weeks you're going to be teaching? So I like to go ahead and use this Excel sheet. Now, this is not my product. This is from a wonderful woman named Megan Phillips, who created these documents to help you to organize your homeschool year. And I will link her description. I will link her in the description box below. But I create this little, calendar to kind of give me an idea, like what are the weeks I want to homeschool, what are the weeks I want to take off. And so that's going to also help me in planning my course of study. But anyway, just wanted to show you that. But that'll be in our next video, getting more deeper into that. So I basically sit and I write a list of everything I want to teach, everything. So I talk about, the subjects that I want. Now, last thing I'm going to talk about in this video today is how the subjects that I teach in my homeschool, okay, and how I divide it, because, everybody always wants to see an example. So my homeschool is divided into three areas. Number one, core subjects: reading, writing, math, language arts, spelling, handwriting, all of those kinds of wonderful, beautiful things. Logic. I love putting logic in there because I'm very big on logic, and I've shown you in other videos. So the first thing I divided into is core subjects. So this will be the heading at the top of my list. Core subjects, reading, writing, math. That's going to be my list. Second section of my homeschooling is family subjects. Subjects that we teach and we learn as a family. Those include geography, social studies, history, science, and religion / scripture, faith. okay? All of that. Those are my family subjects. Those are subjects that we learn together as a family because I believe that that is the beauty of the homeschooling, is that you are able to learn together, siblings learning in together, bonding. That is where we bond together. It's a beautiful thing. The third part of my, I read a heading, family subjects, and I list my family subjects. Now, for social studies, for example, because this year we're doing Florida, because of the fact that in 4th grade, the children in Florida learn about Florida social studies, I am going to actually be putting that into my core subjects just for this year because of the fact that it's going to be different. Because my younger daughter, I'd rather kind of focus more, she's going into 1st grade, focus more on like the overall social studies. So the third thing I divide my homeschool into is circle time. Now, people also call this morning basket, okay? But circle time for me is where I can stuff a lot of subjects into my circle time that I can't cover during the day. Because again, we only homeschool from 7:30 in the morning to 1:30, okay? And we have a lot of breaks in between, and we eat breakfast and all those kinds of things. And I'll do a day in the life one day so you guys can see. But I don't have that much time to teach every single subject I want to teach. So circle time is where I fit a lot of subjects. And I do them on a loop schedule. Loop scheduling is one of the most amazing inventions. I don't know who invented it out there. I think it might have been Pam Barnhill, but I don't know who it was. But it's the most amazing thing in the world. Because each day I go through a loop schedule. So each day I cover a different topic, all right? In there, I include, what do I include? I include seasonal. So we talk about holidays and feast days and all those kinds of beautiful things that happen when the seasons change, and anything in there that I kind of want my kids to know. Like, are we struggling with something, like we're struggling with friendships, or we're struggling with sibling rivalry. Like, I kind of try to teach those kinds of things in seasonal. On Tuesdays, we focus on music and art appreciation. So I kind of go back and forth between music and art. So I do first half of the year music, second half of the year art. The Wednesdays, we cover U.S. history. Love U.S. history. So we do our regular history is kind of, story of the world, kind of world history thing. So here I cover the American history because, again, I really want my kids to learn American history like every single year. I don't want to just focus on it like 1 year and then wait another 2 years and then focus on it. We are Americans and we need to learn our history. So that day we do American history. The next day we do geography. So I am planning on doing a wonderful geography. We're going to be focusing on the United States this year. So we focus on geography that day. And we just loop it around. We keep looping and looping and looping until we get to, the next subject and the next subject. So that is my circle time. Also in circle time, we cover character training as well. So again, I want them to learn to be good human beings. The way that I do that is by character training. And we have one day dedicated to character training, to learning different virtues, different positive things that they need to learn. We also do devotionals during our circle time. We also do memory work during our circle time. And I have a circle time video where I go through exactly what I do. And I will link that in the description box below as well, because I might be out of iCards. I don't know. But again, circle time is the best time. It's if we don't do anything in our homeschool, but we do circle time, I would have felt that we did something amazing. And so I love to bring in read alouds. I love to bring in books. I love to bring in games. I love to do art projects and just all kinds of things, that we need to do. I put it in circle time because circle time is so fun. It's very interactive. I do a lot of fun things with them, and that's what I do. So that's what my homeschool is divided into. So I go ahead, I make my list of my subjects, and then it's time to choose curriculum. And I am out of time, guys, because we are going to be going into that in our next video. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that you gained some knowledge and that you were able to see it. Now, again, I didn't go into the fluff. I didn't go into, I love homeschooling and, the different learning styles and the different types of ways that you can teach curriculum and the classical and Charlotte Mason. And there's tons of videos on that, guys. I want to stick to the nitty gritty and the practical. So if you like this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you've got a different way for how you brainstorm or how you set your goals, please leave it in the comments. I love suggestions. I always feel that the learning never stops with me and homeschooling. So if you've got something great to share, please do so. And I will definitely be linking all of the things I talked about in the description, so don't worry. You can also follow me on Instagram at FireWifeLawyerMom911, where I share with you all that I do on the day-to-day with my kiddos. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe so you get a notification, because the next video is going to be awesome about choosing that curriculum, forming your course of study, and budgeting. Stay tuned for that. Bye-bye. Take care.